It's tough, but you got to think like, where do you want to be in a job in 4 years? We're entering my senior year. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Once I started having these sort of conversations, like, should I change major? Should I not? Because I was interested in more biomechanics, that mechanical engineering ended up being a better fit for me.
Hi, today's guest is a recent graduate from our mechanical engineering department. Please welcome Ava to Find Your Flock. Hi, Ava.
Hi, Sandra. How are you?
I'm good. We're so happy you were able to, I think, sneak off on your lunch break to join us today. Can you maybe introduce yourself to the audience and walk us through how you selected Stevens?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Ava Wang. I was at Stevens completing my bachelor's of mechanical engineering from 2021 to 2025. Originally, I'm from the New York area, so it seems like kind of a logical choice of being, all right, I was a little bit farther from home, swapping states, but still close by in case I needed to drop by and see my parents. But yeah, it was a kind of interesting conversation because uh, so both of my grandfathers were engineers, and my grandpa on my mom's side had lived and worked in the New York City area. So when I was picking through my final schools, he ended up going to Brooklyn Institute of Tech, but he recalled when I had my kind of final three decisions, he's like, "Oh, like the Stevens guys were always so smart." So after touring the campus and just kind of hearing a little bit more reassurance that Stevens kind of has been at that high standard for decades at that point, I felt comfortable making my choice, and I'm so happy I did. Can't imagine having gone somewhere else.
And you initially explored biomedical engineering before switching to mechanical engineering. Is that correct?
That is correct. So I swapped to mechanical engineering. Let's see, it was the summer going into my sophomore year. Um, I had originally entered, like, I fell in love with engineering from kind of like biomechanics, like prosthetics. I think it's just really interesting to study how bodies move. Like, it's something that evolution has taken years and years and years to perfect. So it's definitely an interesting, that sort of like motion kind of appealed to me. And for those who don't know, like, the engineering courses start off pretty much all the same for everyone in their freshman year. You're taking your core curriculum, um, and then really start branching into maybe like one or two major specific classes in your sophomore year. So kind of a funny story, but I had it churning in the back of my head that, okay, maybe like I wanted to change majors, but then the one elective course that I actually was planning on taking for biomedical engineering, my first one, something happened on workday over the summer where it got dropped and I had to change to another section. And then that kind of spurred a chain reaction of thoughts where I was looking at the courses that I had ahead, because Stevens will list out every single course that you have to take, like all 8 terms on their website. That's something I definitely advise you to check out, because you can see all the descriptions and such on there too. And the more I looked, the more I realized it was a little bit more like tissue engineering heavy than I saw for myself. Um, and once this conversation kind of started in my head, it's tough, but you got to think like big term, like, where do you want to be in a job in 4 years? And once I started having these sort of conversations with people that I look up to in my life of where, like, should I change majors? Should I not? Because it feels really scary in the moment. The best piece of advice that I got was to just sit on like LinkedIn or Indeed or any of those job hiring sites and look for roles that interest you. Like, ignore any of the requirements at first, and then from there work backwards and say, okay, for this job that I'm interested in, what degrees are they hiring from? And something that I had just found from my research is that because I was interested in more specifically like biomechanics, that mechanical engineering ended up being a better fit for me because a lot of the companies, like even if you're working at a biomedical company or a chemical company, the title of the job might be mechanical engineer at a company that is in kind of like something you may think is a different industry.
That's awesome. I love these stories of switching because I think sometimes there's a lot of anxiety about major selection for undecided students, and then also switching always feels like so crazy. But like you mentioned, the common courses really help enable, exploring and figuring out what's the right fit for you. So that's awesome. And then, so I know you were also a Pinnacle Scholar, and you got to participate in the Pinnacle Scholars Program. I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk a little bit about that and how that maybe shaped any of your academics and professional goals.
Yeah, sure. So I definitely appreciated some of the more like guidance that you can get in your freshman year with there's kind of like elective classes that you take, and I feel like it broke the ice a little bit for me on getting comfortable talking to faculty since it was a little bit more of a, I guess, just like casual setting than I like some of my bigger lecture halls when you're taking things like Gen Chem where there's a lot of kids in a class. Because in high school, I was actually rather shy. It was kind of something that or like a skill that I developed mostly at Stevens through extracurriculars. So I appreciated dipping my toe into a more casual setting. That was when I first started getting or like building those relationships with faculty and such. But the biggest thing with the Pinnacle Scholars Program is the summer stipend, and I'm happy with how I used all three of mine. I kind of went the three different directions that you can go between my freshman and sophomore year. I did research on campus. Then my sophomore to junior year, I did research that was a little bit more independent off of campus, and then I did study abroad for my last one. And I liked how like different all three of the experiences were. So I did my first summer research in biomedical engineering in Dr. Antonia Zaffarayu's lab, and I really love that experience there. I think that helped build me into like the professional that I am today, and invaluable experience, especially when you're looking for an internship the following summer, because you're fighting as a freshman with sophomores and juniors applying to the same internships. So research felt like the right direction for me to go there, and it's a good way to test like, hey, is this major actually for me? And I really enjoyed my time there. She does biomechanics, and that kind of helped solidify for me which branch I wanted to go. Like, okay, I'm not really into the tissue thing. Where should I be looking? And individuals in that lab had completed their undergrads in mechanical, and that kind of got me thinking. My second one, I did um, like visual arts and tech research. So I worked with Dr. Allison Packer, and I actually was creating um, a prop for one of her films that she was developing. So I made a little miniature um, model of a house, and I always liked miniatures, so that was a super fun, just kind of like exploring the more artsy side of research for myself. And studying abroad with the program was definitely huge on shaping my perspective of who I want to be and like what I want my work life to look like, and kind of like what you're working for, like what you want to do in your free time. So I think it made me a better person outside of academics and scholarship.
Where did you study abroad at?
I was in Barcelona. I did the J term, so it's like 6 weeks. I missed the first like syllabus week of the spring semester, but it's okay. You'll figure it out. It is a little. I was a bit worried about that. It's a little stressful, feeling like you're a week behind all of the catch up and orientation there, but I think the trade offs were well worth it. I made some good friends there.
Amazing. I have family in Barcelona. It's one of my favorite places to go. That's awesome. So thank you so much for sharing the opportunities that you were able to take advantage of through the Pinnacle Scholars Program. I know, you know, additionally, you served on our Dean's Advisory Council. I believe you also were a teaching assistant or a course assistant for statics, ENGR
Yeah,
211. So yeah, I'd love to hear kind of about those experiences and, did they help you figure out what you wanted to do? And I'm also very surprised that you would tell me you were shy because you were always a really good advocate for students in our Dean's Advisory Council. So I love that, I only know you as a, very uh communicative student with a lot of great suggestions and opinions and able to help us figure out what's best for students. So, but yeah, I'd love to hear about, Dean's Advisory Council or your teaching assistant experiences.
yeah, thank you. So I really appreciate your compliments, and that's something that Stevens built me into a better communicator. Those are not skills that I had coming in. And okay, so the teaching assistant roles, I TA'd for statics, which is one of your big first kind of engineering courses. Aside from you're like, okay, I got the chemistry out of the way, I got the like basic physics out of the way, and it's a fun course. The labs there were super cool. And I thought at the time when I was taking it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a hard class because you kind of are experiencing engineering for the first time. But it's also a lot of the times why you maybe went into the major that you went into, and coming back with the different perspective of, okay, I actually have to teach this thing right now, or people are going to have questions, was initially a bit daunting. But if you have the opportunity to become a TA, I definitely recommend it because it helps you confirm your own understanding. Because okay, you can build your understanding for yourself and your own framework, but then when you have someone trying to pick it apart a little bit, you have to defend and be like, no, like this is why. And being able to approach the same topic from so many different perspectives and root back to the same answer is also a little bit of mental flexibility, but it made me more confident. And I think it just gave me more perspective too on being the other side of the like student teacher relationship a little bit. You're walking the line, but being someone who's answering questions, I feel like makes you better at understanding and communicating with your professors for the classes that you're taking right now. And the same experiences, I would say, just kind of built upon each other for ME 322 is what it was. The D6 for Mechis was the other one that I TA'd. But I think other than that, like big extracurricular involvements that really kind of helped me break out of my shell was definitely with the Stute. Um, I had I started off as a photographer there and then branched into writing because I was feeling like I was missing that more liberal arts side that I had in high school. My high school was very like liberal arts based, and I missed it way more than I thought I was going to. So it helped scratch that like writing and self expression itch. And after building up a little bit of experience there, I got to be managing editor for a term, and then outreach chair, and I rounded out the experience as a opinion columnist. And I had this itch for more liberal arts sort of experience, but I have to think. I wish I remembered her name, but there's this one lady at the career center where I went for resume review before my very first career fair. Now this is freshman year, and she's looking at my resume and she's like, "Whoa, like why don't you have any like e-board experience?" And I was kind of like, "What do you? I'm a freshman. I just got here." like, are we talking about like the same resume right now? And in the moment, I was a little bit like, "Oh, like why is she lighting this fire under me right now? Like I just got here." But it was a push that I needed in the right direction to get me thinking of like, okay, well, do I want to gain e-board experience here, like my 4 years? And I think that is one of the experiences that taught me the most. Like, arguably, I use those skills more than the academic skills that I built up like every day in the workforce, because I think a lot of the curriculum is really hard and you're kind of proving that you're capable of grasping technical concepts. But the day to day of engineering, I feel like the skills I learned as an e-board member from the Stute helped me get way farther than I think I would have been able to without that experience. So thank you to the the resume review lady at the career center, even though in the moment I might have been a little bit hurt.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, tons of e-board experience. So, I mean, we graduated. We now have a role at Messer. Do you want to tell us a little bit about, you're in the graduate development program. So tell us a little bit about Messer and your first rotation and your next rotation and, what are we doing now? Because I'm very excited. I remember I said to you at one of our last DUSAC meetings, I said, hey, in 6 months, I want to follow up with you. You're going to come on Find Your Flock because I want to hear all about this first job and give you that kind of 6 month period of reflection, and I love that the e-board experience is now helping you in your day to day. And it's so important for students, even if they don't want to hear it, uh, to,
Yeah.
to get involved and start putting
I,
themselves out there.
yeah. So, okay, Messer is in the industrial gas sort of industry, and so that's gas is in like air, not as in oil. But we right now I'm working at a plant, and it's an air separation unit. So overall, like grand scheme of things, they separate air into its different components. So you have like oxygen, nitrogen, argon, and then some of your rarer gases. But I think it's not something I would have initially thought like in college being like, oh my goodness, like I want to separate air when I grow up. But like now that I'm here, I knew that I kind of liked reliability and quality engineering from one of my previous internships, luckily. And it kind of like scratches that mechanical itch that I have. Like I like seeing the big machines working on the like really impressive, like huge compressors and other rotating machinery and stuff. So that's big picture what Messer does. But they offer a graduate development program, which is 2 years right after you graduate out of your bachelor's, and you do three 8 month long rotations. The goal is that you try out like the operations side and then the commercial side, more like business, like you're business casual, you're in an office setting, and operations is at plants and more like on site work. Um, so I'm on the operations track. I started off in Midwest Reliability. So I'm in Indiana right now, and I'm about to move to Houston, Texas to begin my second rotation in hydrogen fueling. So I'm going to see what's up in the kind of like green energy section. But the way I ended up uh, in this position is that I was really looking for rotational programs, because by the time that I graduated or entering my senior year, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. If that wasn't like totally indicative by the swapping my majors, and then there's just like a lot of things that I'm interested in and I think could be a good fit for me. So I specifically wanted the security of being within one company, but the freedom to try out different roles and see what the best fit for myself was. So you don't even have to have it entirely figured out by the time you graduate either. You can try a bunch of different roles, whether that's at the same company or not. But if that's something that interests a student where they're not entirely sure what they want their professional career to look like, I would definitely suggest looking at rotational programs at any company.
That's awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm a civil engineer that now hosts a podcast. I mean, you never know the paths that could take as long as you're curious and interested in what you're doing and you get to try new things. I feel like you're on the right
Yeah,
track.
you're not boxed in a corner at all.
Yeah, and mechanical engineering is one of those degrees that have industries from biomechanics to energy to industrial, telecom, aerospace. I mean, there's so many kind of broad ways you could kind of go through that. So I'm excited to hear you exploring and moving to Texas. That sounds fun. I think, we're probably getting close to time, so I do want to ask, I always love to ask, you know, why mechanical engineering at Stevens, and what advice would you give to students who are coming in to Stevens in mechanical engineering?
So I absolutely loved the faculty in the mechanical engineering department. I felt super listened to, and just supported. Like if I had any questions, and the smaller class size helps. Mechanical engineering is like one of the larger degree programs, but still small class sizes, and I just felt like super understood by the professors, and they really wanted to help. And especially from like experience with the Dean's Advisor Council, we're super open to feedback. Like, no, like let's make this work for the students. And I think it was just very evident in many of my classes how much the faculty cared and we're on the same page. And it's broad. Like you'll always hear that advice with mechanical engineering, but um, it's helpful if you don't know what you want to do, but you have like a passion for engineering, because you can make it into what you want, and there's time to specialize later, whether that's through like a graduate degree or just working at a company and say like the chemical industry or biomedical industry or even like electrical, and being the title of mechanical engineer at those different companies. So you're not limited to you're not limiting yourself, by picking a mechanical engineering degree. And I think it's one that's widely accepted and understood what a mechanical engineering degree is. Because sometimes if a program of study is a little bit less defined, or there's more flexibility in what a student may study depending on what college they went to, sometimes that can uh, maybe create a question mark for employers.
That's awesome. I mean, we are the home of the original location of ASME. We have a long tradition in ME at Stevens. Like your grandparents knew about it, so love that. I want to thank Ava so much for joining us today, especially taking time out of her lunch break. We really appreciate you being able to come back and talk about your experiences for students. Thanks for joining, and don't forget to check out our other episodes. Click subscribe and share. Have a good one. You've been listening
Hi,
to Find
thank you
Your
for having
Flock,
me.
Season 2. I'm Dr. Sandra Clavijo. Thanks for joining us as we help future ducks find their path at Stevens. Don't forget to follow and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, and share this episode with a future duck.